What's happening, yo? Please introduce the gang, B.
Yo, it's your boy, baby boy. You dig? It's my boy Flame from K1. It's my boy Mello. It's my nigga out there, Echo. It's my boy, motherfucking X. It's my man, it's out here for life. That's Mash Beats. The Wrecking Crew is a movement. It's just a bunch of young boys representing the culture and where they from. You know, I'm talking K1, Limpopo, and Pretoria. So we just a movement making music and telling our story through it.
It's lit. Let it ride. And now look, I know you tired of hearing the story and shit, but fuck it. It's lit. Yeah, baby boy drop their hits. Baby boy cop the crib. Me and the gang I'm with. That's how the cash is split. Baby boy gone, he missing. I'm never home, I trip. Smoking on tangerine. That's what I came up with. Look at my life.
Bitch. Fuck that little bitch. Wherever you are, I'd like to fucking thank you for nothing because you just almost fucked up the show. But you know what's sad? We win, so we gonna keep it going.
To this house.
Saying you guys didn't fuck each other's girl.
No, I fucked. There they are. They're the homies. I didn't fuck nobody's
Where's that
hand.
narrative coming
I didn't
from?
fuck nobody's hand for the crew to split, and that was the narrative online.
She's been like rapper hopping, artist hopping, and now she's with Reese. She left Reese because then she cheated on Reese with Gemini Major, and I'm like, fuck, I wasn't supposed to say that.
I thought, okay, wait, maybe she envies me because I'm with the man that she actually wanted, and then I'm like,
The money that came to the Wrecking Crew account handled all things
Who was
Wrecking Crew.
handling that accounts?
It's not even say names, but like we had a dude that was handling that.
And you trusted that nigga?
Yeah, for sure.
But like he knows as well. He's a fucked up nigga. He knows as well.
What you mean?
He knows as well. He be eating that boy's bags too. Like he's been dibbling in the bag too. He knows we had his.
It's my money. You cannot tell me what to do with my money. You feel me?
And you know,
what you saying? He had some sticky fingers?
Yeah, like just the numbers were making sense.
What you expect to hear when niggas ask me about Flame?
I'm trying to tell you, Mr. Fuck, pull up on me like that. I'm trying to tell you, nigga. What do you mean? What you gonna do? What you gonna do?
We fight them records out, it's just how family is.
Hip-hop collectives are almost designed to never last. From NWA to G-Unit, Odd Future to ASAP Mob, it seems that the more talent you pack into one crew, the more likely it is to fall apart. Ego clashes, money issues, creative differences, and personal drama have broken up some of the most iconic rap groups in history. The Wrecking Crew was no different. They had all the ingredients of a legendary movement: young talent, a cult following, and a DIY work ethic that felt like a breath of fresh air in the South African hip-hop scene. At first, everything flowed with ease. That initial feeling of bright optimism and youthful energy was palpable. But as time went on, cracks began to surface. Mismanagement, blurred friendships, and messy fallouts all started creeping in. And in just under 2 years, the whole thing unraveled. Today we're going to talk about one of the most promising hip-hop collectives South Africa's ever seen, the Wrecking Crew. But before we jump into that, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button for more. Before the Wrecking Crew became what we know it as, the roots were planted in Pretoria West. It all started as a three-man collective made up of the duo Benchmark, J. Jody and TK, and J. Jody's younger brother A. Reese. Back then, they were affiliated with PH's Raw X Studios and the production team XLR. Each had already dropped projects under the label, Benchmark with Power Trip 1 EP and A. Reese with the Brownies EP, all dropping in 2014. Just to put it out there, A. Reese before Ambitious Entertainment was a beast, and I might need to do a whole separate video just on that era alone. Speaking of that era, A. Reese, even as a solo act, was already making noise in and around Pretoria. He wasn't just relying on Benchmark or Raw X Studios to get his name out there. He had his own thing bubbling on the side. A crew he was trying to break into the scene with called 1000 Degrees. 1000 Degrees consisted of guys like IMP the Don, Ty On It, and Words, many of who appeared on A. Reese's homemade mixtape Forever King, released in 2013.
1000 Degrees is
when I look at Hege Sheba Lone,
Yeah.
we wanted it to be a label, a crew, whatever, but it was just brothers coming together because of music, bro. Understand? We needed an identity. Not a
Yeah, how many? Who are we
Yes,
talking? How many
yes.
were y'all?
Some niggas y'all don't even know. Understand?
Yeah.
But the likes of Reese, Krish, Words, Shade, Boom Bap The Problem, Time Master, Makuzu.
Yeah.
We once
some of
had-
them we don't know for real. Yeah.
For real, my nigga.
Yeah.
In 2015, Benchmark was scooped up by Hosimao Mapelo and joined Ambitious Entertainment. Aries followed not long after. With that move, the trio officially hit the mainstream, dropping singles, pushing projects, and performing across the country. But as Reese started paving his own solo path, it came at a cost. He had to leave behind most of the 1000 Degrees crew, guys he came up with, as he focused on building his own name in the industry. In 2017, Aries and Benchmark had a messy fallout with Ambitious Entertainment, which ultimately led to them parting ways with the label. If you want the full story on that, I actually covered it in my video on the implosion of Ambitious Entertainment, which you can check out by hitting the link above. As a result of the split, they left alongside Mash Beats, who produced key tracks on Aries' debut album, and Flame, who was signed to the label but hadn't dropped much yet besides one single. After leaving Ambitious, the crew regrouped at Benchmark's apartment in Melville. Fueled by frustration with labels and a growing distrust for industry politics, they made a clear decision. No more middlemen, no more labels. They were going fully independent. It was there that the Wrecking Crew was officially reformed, a collective of artists, producers, and creatives who were going to do it their own way. Also, back in Pretoria, X Global, a dancer turned rapper and former Big Brother contestant, was starting to find his footing in the music scene, recording at Zuchi Coke Dope Studio. Around that time, the Ambitious fallout made waves on social media. X saw an opportunity. He reached out to Benchmark looking to collaborate and build some momentum for himself off the buzz. They agreed, but charged him for the feature and threw in an Aries verse on a separate track. Soon after, X Global pulled up to Melville and linked up with Benchmark and Reese in person. It was there that they decided to immediately drop the track So What, a pivotal moment that set the tone for what was coming.
Get inside, the record is fire. So I'm like, okay, cool, listen, I'm gonna go chop up the artwork. I gotta hit up Gusta for the PR. The boy's like, yo, screw all of that PR nonsense. Yo, homie's gonna do the artwork right now. We can drop this thing right now.
Crazy, okay.
So that was
This is how it is.
So that was the first time, Ben, man, I'm coming from, yo, we have to plan this. This
Roll
needs a
out,
rollout.
man, yeah.
This needs, I need to holler at the PR people. I need to holler at, you know, he's like, nah, bro, don't worry. Let's just do the artwork and drop this thing as it is.
Impressed by X Global's hustle, industry instincts, and ability to move strategically, TK extended an invite for him to join the Wrecking Crew. And with that invite, X brought in two of his own people, Echo and Melo, who would also become part of the newly reformed crew. After a while, tension started brewing between J. Jody and Aries, possibly sparked by the living situation. The Melville apartment had become overcrowded, and eventually, Benchmark decided to ask the rest of the crew to move out. While they were still part of the crew in name and affiliation, Benchmark began to distance themselves from the day-to-day grind of the group. Being a bit older and arguably more mature, they weren't always around for the late nights or the chaos that came with a growing youthful collective. Their focus started shifting more towards their own path, leaving the younger members to handle the logistics and direction of TWC on their own. With nowhere to go, X Global stepped in and offered a lifeline, inviting the guys to crash at his 3-bedroom spot. But the same issue followed them. Overcrowding. As the crew kept growing, they ended up getting forced out of another apartment complex. Neighbors started complaining, and it wasn't hard to see why. A group of nearly 10 young adults constantly making music, smoking weed, sipping lean, it clashed hard with the vibe of the quiet, reserved suburbs they were living in. And let's be real, a bunch of loud, rebellious black creatives posted up in a predominantly white, conservative spaces, that was always going to raise eyebrows. Around this time, the crew caught an unexpected blessing. George Labise, Kaizer Chiefs soccer player and a big Aries fan, heard about the situation through one of ex-Global's family friends. Word of the constant relocations and unstable living conditions has started to spread, and George decided to step in. He offered up one of his properties in Honeydew as a place for the crew to stay. For the first time in a while, the group had room to breathe, literally and creatively. With a proper base and more stability, the vibes were up. That period gave birth to some of their most iconic joints like Tell Me What You Want and the aptly titled Meanwhile in Honeydew. The house became a creative hub, a studio, and fostered the momentum they were building independently. During this period, the crew was fully locked into the rockstar lifestyle, non-stop gigs, late nights, and a growing cult following that pulled up everywhere they went. They were buzzing and moving as a unit. With shows starting to stack up and money finally coming in, they started to think bigger. At some point, the realization hit. If they pulled their cash together, they could upgrade, get a bigger space, more freedom, and move back to familiar territory. Moving to Pretoria East would be cheaper, more spacious, and still close enough to keep the hustle alive. So with that in mind, they packed up and relocated. Remember 1000 Degrees? Well, as soon as TWC settled back into Pretoria, Aries brought his day ones into the fold, inviting the 1000 Degrees crew to pull up to the new house and link with the rest of the team. At first, it was all love. The idea was simple: knock out some studio sessions, catch a vibe, maybe build something fresh. But what was meant to be a temporary creative link-up turned into something more permanent. The problem? 1000 Degrees never left. What started as a few visits slowly became full-on residency, and the house, already buzzing with artists, started to feel overcrowded again. Boundaries became blurred, space got tight, and the tension bubbling underneath began to surface.
Like, you know how it is, homie, situation.
Sure.
Sure. Like, everybody's keeping distance here.
Like safety.
Nobody's saying too much because you don't know who this is, who that is, whatever.
For sure.
Understand? So, for me personally, LEMMiNO, it was just we're here to work. We finally free.
But would you
basically.
say some of the love was fake? Like from
Fake.
co-labelating, like I mean, it's not even shots at anybody, bro. Molefating, you can't like everybody, you can't be liked by everybody,
For some time,
for sure.
Hell yeah.
Like, did you see some shit that made you go?
It's
dog,
like
this is not it.
We're not raised the same, though. And you can tell with the nigga's manners or the way he speaks or whatever. And then you see it immediately, and then you're like, nah.
I can't fuck with that.
It was exactly that. Understand? So people like Flame, for me, have always been genuine niggas. Understand? Like till the end, there's been no problems. So it depends.
The original TWC members wasn't exactly thrilled about 1000 Degrees suddenly becoming permanent housemates. Behind the scenes, tension started growing, and eventually, the crew decided to address it head on. A meeting was called with Aries to clear the air and figure out the direction moving forward. During that conversation, it became clear that there was a split in vision. Aries was the only one fully in favor of bringing 1000 Degrees in as official members of TWC. The rest of the crew had their doubts, not out of hate, but because they felt like TWC needed to solidify itself first before expanding. But Reese, sticking to his instincts and loyalty, overruled the concerns and brought them in anyway, against everyone's wishes. Now with 1000 Degrees in the cut, the crew's expenses suddenly began to grow. There were more mouths to feed, literally and figuratively. The original members, who were used to splitting the costs among themselves, now had to stretch the same money to cover a whole new set of people who hadn't yet contributed much to the brand besides one song, A Real Nigga Tale.
What happens? He signs the homies. When he signs the homies are in the house.
Yeah.
Right?
So he's
and then now these niggas are not going home, bro. And now we also like have built a relationship with homies, so we're not about to say, yo, nigga, Dib, you didn't talk to me to come here.
Yeah.
You feel what I'm saying?
So you're pressing the boy to make niggas dip.
You can see the tension, so we had a meeting, so that's when he said, I'll sign 1000 Degrees.
Okay. And then what?
Disaster.
The vibe started shifting from family to friction as some began to feel like they were carrying more weight than others. With nearly 20 guys packed into one house, plus a constant flow of girls, music blaring at all hours, and people moving in and out, it was only a matter of time before the neighborhood took notice. The house, sitting on a corner in a quiet, predominantly white suburb, stood out like a sore thumb. What felt like creative freedom and creativity inside the house looked like chaos from the outside. Eventually, the complaints started rolling in, and it didn't stop there. The neighbors began actively petitioning for their eviction, and they had to split and leave. With no paperwork in place, getting another house wasn't an easy option, so the crew started hotel hopping and living out of Airbnbs just to have a roof over their heads. But that kind of lifestyle came at a steep price. According to ex-Global himself, their monthly expenses ballooned to around 100,000 Rand, a number that was completely unsustainable for an independent crew still finding its footing financially. What started as a dream of freedom and independence was now burning through cash at a dangerous rate. The constant moving, the pressure to maintain appearances, and the growing cost of living all started weighing heavy on the group until Aries eventually decided to cut some of the members from 1000 Degrees loose.
Then after this one last show, one night we slept in this one bedroom, all 7 of us. We woke up and went to Deso, and we found our manager eating nice, eating pizzas and all of this thing. He knows as well. He's a fucked up nigga. He knows as well.
What you mean?
He knows as well. He be eating that boy's bags too. Like he's been dibbling in the bag too. He knows we had his. I'm a real nigga, so I'm gonna keep it solid. So he knows as well. He fucked up too at a point. And
what you saying? He had some sticky fingers?
Yeah, like just the numbers were making sense. To how we could be struggling, and when we pull up on you, and we just had Wrecking Eve, we had a whole show sold out. We pulled up on you and your mommies are eating pizzas and living good, and we've been starving since last night, hitting you up, and you've been saying you coming, and when we come the next day to wherever you at, you nice.
Was the bread coming through him?
Yeah, so Dessa was handling all our finances, like all the gigs coming through him, and then we'll just see. Look at him hold his head.
After cutting ties with their management, the remaining members of the crew packed up and headed back to Josie, ready to rebuild. They hit the ground running, gigging hard, city to city. Slowly but surely, the money started coming in again. Eventually, they managed to stack enough to find a new spot, a 10-story house with a 3-bedroom setup. But just as things were settling, history started repeating itself again. One by one, the same members of 1000 Degrees began making their way back into the fold. Whether it was out of loyalty, nostalgia, or just the nature of how this crew operated, they found themselves right back where they started. Things at the new house quickly spiraled into chaos. Clothes started going missing, small items would mysteriously disappear, and trust began to erode. The crew had grown too big for its own good, and it started showing in every aspect of their operation. Transport to and from gigs became a logistical nightmare. There were too many people, not enough seats, and constant delays. Even on stage, things became messy. Some members started overstepping, running onto stages uninvited, throwing off the structure of performances. A quiet divide began to take shape within the house. 2 camps slowly started forming, each gravitating toward their own circle and spending less time with the rest. The growing tension between Aries and Flame only made things worse. From guys that used to spend every day together to barely speaking. Eventually, the split became clear. Aries, ex-Global, Words, Tiger Banks, and Krish began calling themselves Rubber Band Gang, while Flame, Echo, and Mellow broke off as the Lean Team. Things finally came to a head after a heated dispute over rent money broke out in the house. In a petty move, Rubber Band Gang took all the studio equipment, gear that was technically crew property, and booked an Airbnb using TWC funds. They disappeared for a few days to clear their heads and record music. It's highly likely that many of the tracks laid down during that session would later appear on Reese Effect. But when they returned, the situation had taken a dark turn. The house was quiet, doors and windows were left wide open, and no one was inside. As it turns out, while Rubber Band Gang were away, The rest of the crew had packed up and left, abruptly and angrily. In their frustration, they left the house vulnerable, essentially inviting a robbery. That moment, the silence, the empty rooms, the broken trust was the final nail in the coffin. Everyone knew it then. The Wrecking Crew, as fans had come to know it, was officially done. When that infamous tweet hit the timeline in 2019, fans were caught completely off guard, shocked, confused, and unsure if it was even real. Some thought it was a joke, maybe even a marketing stunt, while others immediately felt the sting of disappointment. For many who had followed TWC from the beginning, it felt like the end of an era. But not everyone saw it as a loss. A vocal section of Aeris's fanbase felt like the breakup was long overdue. In their eyes, the crew had become dead weight, holding him back, complicating his rise, and dragging his name into behind-the-scenes drama that didn't align with the focused artist they believed in. Speculation ran wild after the fallout. Many believed that Flame, Echo and Mello had grown too big-headed to stay under Aeris's shadow, wanting to carve out their own paths without being tied down. Adding fuel to the fire was the rumor that Ashley Ogle, Flame's girlfriend at the time, was whispering in his ear to push for a split. The drama didn't stop there. Another rumor surfaced claiming Ashley had been involved with X Global. X was quick to put those rumors to rest, clarifying that he and Ashley had been dating long before they got involved with Flame, cutting off the gossip at the source.
You haven't even gotten that.
Let me tell you how that happened, right? We went to this house.
Saying you guys didn't fuck each other's girl.
No, I fucked. There they are. They're the homies. I didn't fuck nobody's
Where's that
hand.
narrative coming from?
I didn't fuck nobody's hand for the crew to split, and that was the narrative online.
Where's that coming from?
Huh?
Where's that coming from?
Because he dated a hand that I used to see back in the day.
But what I'm saying is, where is it coming from for people to even say that's why y'all broke up?
Because of the hun. How the hun was wilding out online as well.
What the hun do online?
Why you didn't follow up on that? I ain't about to speak on no hun.
The relationship between Aeris and Flame was further strained by the involvement of their girlfriends, Ashley Ogle and Raquel Jones. Before the crew had come together, Ashley and Raquel had been close friends back in Durban, but that friendship had soured in 2017 after both of them had a fallout.
She's been like rapper hopping, artist hopping, and now she's with Reese. She left Reese because then she cheated on Reese with Gemini Major, and I'm like, fuck, I wasn't supposed to say that.
Shout out to Gemini Major. Bad man thing. You got the bad man
so, but
thing.
anyways, it's like, and then Reese made the songs about her and dissed her and blah blah blah. Now because I was in the circle, I got obviously I was there when these conversations were had. So now when people are saying, oh, Ashley, you're the liar, I'm like, how, guys? But the fans are saying, Ashley, you're the liar. But I was there.
Exactly.
I was actually there. So that's why I said to Raquel, girl, you know, like I'm not trying to justify the things that you've said or the things that you've heard, but what you're not gonna tell me is my truth.
Absolutely.
Because I know you. And that's why you blocked everyone from Durban, because you're from Durban and you were running the streets from that time with the Nigerian
All
guys.
right now.
So it's like, I'm not, like, if that's your hustle, that's your hustle.
I'm gonna say it. I thought that Ashley envied me because she actually said to Reese while Flame was there in the club that, oh, okay, I don't even want Flame, I want you. So I thought, okay, wait, maybe she envies me because I'm with the man that she actually wanted. And then I'm like,
that lingering tension between the two women made things awkward in the house and further added a layer of discomfort between Reese and Flame.
We're doing a show together, so we're doing the same show. We're doing Summertime VZ at the time. So shout out to VZ too. He was actually supposed to jump on stage right after me. So I saw them, and then I was like, I'll link up with them in the parking lot. That's even a better place.
And shit's already hot, obviously, at this time.
I mean?
You guys have already split and all that.
You feel me? So I'm like, if I'm meeting them in the parking lot, it's even better because there ain't no cameras out there. It's just gonna be us. Whatever, however it goes down, it'll go down. So I get there and I knock on the window. Coincidentally, he's by the window. So I'm like, yo, my nigga, look, let's go back to the motherfucking parking lot. I'm finna chop it up with you. I try to have all of these eyes around us.
Yeah.
I'm finna have a decent convo with you so that I can know what the fuck is going on. You feel me? So they're like, nah, you get into the car. I'm like, hell nah, my niggas.
Yeah.
I ain't doing that
That
shit.
didn't sound like a good
I'm
idea.
Like, nah. I'm like, nah, if shit had to pop off here, I'm the only nigga in this car, bro. Hold on.
That's
You
not
feel
a...
me?
Yeah.
So I'm like, nah, we ain't doing that. Let's go to the parking lot. And then next thing you know, my nigga comes out the car. He's just shouting. And
He was
wilding
heated.
out. And then he's just asking me question after question. Now, every question I'm trying to answer while I'm answering another
He
question.
already got another one for you.
So I got to a
He's
point
big
where...
broing you on a crazy level.
I'm like, the fuck? You feel
It's going crazy.
So I get to a point where I get fed up. I'm like, you know what, my nigga? Since you're not gonna let me talk, let me dip. Fuck it, you know? And then I forgot what the fuck happened in that situation. And then he tells Echo, yo, Echo, tell your boy to watch how to talk and pull up on me. So now that's when I get fucked up. I'm like, nigga, actually,
come on now.
what you gonna do about it, actually?
Come on now.
You know, like, fuck it.
Don't
now,
be doing
like,
all that.
I came here chilled. Now you wanna come with all of that too? Now, my nigga, like, what are you gonna do then? Okay, since you got a problem with how I pulled up, what are you gonna do? I'm right here.
Yeah.
Then it just escalated.
That's when it went
It
to
went
that
left again.
direction.
I'm like, fuck.
So, after unpacking and taking everything into account, it's clear that the wrecking crew didn't fall out because of one big moment, but rather because of a buildup of personal, financial, and emotional pressure that finally burst. At the core of the implosion, these are the major issues that I picked up on. First, there was a lack of structure within the group. You see, TWC moved like a family, not a business. There were no contracts, no clear roles, no proper financial systems. Yes, they had a separate crew account to pay rent and living expenses, but who was managing that money? Because as I understand it, that's the money that comes in after it goes through management.
But yeah, we were paying our rent off of it, off of the crew money, and then it just it just started becoming complicated because
what happened? Yo, let me tell you, right? So what we did was we had an account, right, for Wrecking Crew. And whatever show we do as the Wrecking Crew, as the boys, me, Flame, this guy, Reese, X, and Mash. Yeah, right? Benchmark. And Benchmark. Yeah, that's the Wrecking Crew.
yeah.
So whatever money we get as the Wrecking Crew, we don't split it. We don't touch it at all. What it does is it handles the household needs. It handles rent. It handles groceries. It handles lane. It handles it handles everything. And then when you book Flame personally, Flame's money is Flame's money. You cannot tell him what to do with Flame's money. It's his. And I get booked, it's my money. You cannot tell me what to do with my money. You feel me? And that's just how it was set up, yeah. But things got a bit complicated.
In fact, that's how the manager was able to steal funds behind their backs, because no one was watching the books. They needed a solid manager, one who was honest, financially literate, and could have set up systems to protect their income and future. And as much as they hated the industry, having contractual agreements in place would have gone a long way in securing the business of TWC and, most importantly, their friendship. The biggest problem was the overcrowding and overspending. In the Zinger podcast, X mentioned how the crew would spend over 3,000 Rand on garage pies. And that's crazy, like, who even does that? From living with almost 20 people in quiet suburbs to burning through 100k a month on Airbnbs, groceries, lean, weed and mansion parties, the lifestyle eventually caught up to them. Another reason is ego and emotional tension. Whether it was Reese forcing 1000 degrees into the crew, the divide between Rubber Band Gang and Lean Team, or the awkward dynamic between Raquel and Ashley, personal relationships bled into the music, and without clear leadership or conflict resolution, the crew eventually fractured. When the divide in the house began forming, I firmly believe proper conflict resolution was needed. The crew did have meetings trying to resolve things, but I believe an OG was needed to mediate the conversation. Maybe someone like Zuchi or PH or even Benchmark could have helped squash the beef and reset the vision. Speaking of leadership, TWC needed a leader, and I believe it should have been X-Global. He was a few years older than the rest and displayed business acumen on many occasions. Many would say it should have been Reese, but I disagree. Reese was the face of TWC. He had the buzz, the numbers, the mainstream attention, even before the crew was formed. Naturally, people gravitated towards him as the frontman. But Reese isn't a traditional leader. He's an introverted, emotionally driven artist who prefers to let the music do the talking. That makes him a powerful, symbolic leader, but not necessarily the one to handle logistics, conflict, or crew management. His decision to bring in 1000 Degrees without full support is a good example. He led emotionally, not strategically. X, on the other hand, had more of the people skills and hustle. He was resourceful, connected, and business-minded. He found housing when the crew was displaced. He was involved in funding music videos for the crew and had the maturity to step in when others distanced themselves. In many ways, he was already acting like a leader, but he wasn't the frontman, so his influence had a ceiling unless Reese empowered him directly. Ideally, a two-headed leadership model could have worked. Reese as the creative director and the face of the brand, while X would be in charge of logistics and operations, handling day-to-day issues, money, housing, shows, and people management. But in the absence of that structure we spoke about earlier, things often fell back to ego and emotion, and no one stepped up to define roles clearly. So the crew had no leader, it had chaos. Honestly, if Reese had recognized X's strengths and empowered him officially as a manager type or crew captain, things may have played out differently. It should be worth noting that even Rubber Band Gang didn't survive long after TWC's collapse. When X Global took time off to detox for a couple of months, he returned to find that Reese was in the process of moving out, taking Mash Beats and Raquel with him to a new home in Bryanston. The rest of the guys were left to fend for themselves, with no financial backing, no studio access, and most importantly, no communication from Reese, who had stopped reaching out for shows or collaborations. It exposed a truth that a lot of crews in hip-hop face. If one person is the engine, the whole machine dies when that person stops moving. Eventually, even Mash Beats would cut ties with Reese. He felt that he didn't get the type of emotional support he needed when his mother passed away, which opened his eyes to the fact that even though he and Reese had musical chemistry, he was essentially boxing himself in by just working with one artist and ignoring a sea of dope musicians out there. So that brings us to the present day. Reese continues to drop music independently with a loyal fan base that rides for him heavy. He released multiple projects under his independent label Revenge Club Records, which racked up millions of streams. Interestingly, a lot of the former members of the crew have since patched things up with each other, all for except one person, Reese. Some would argue he was under pressure, carrying the brand, the expectations, the spotlight, but even still, leadership isn't just about being the most talented or the most followed. It's about how you treat people when things get messy. It doesn't take away from his music or what he achieved. Honestly, I'm still a big Reese fan, but it definitely complicates his legacy within that circle. The fact that he's the only one still on the outside, honestly, that speaks more than any diss track ever could. Flame built up a solid solo career, growing more versatile with every project. His debut album Candyman won both Best Freshman and Best Male Artist at the South African Hip Hop Awards, and he's been more open and reflective about the past. Mash Beats became one of South Africa's most sought after producers. His single Never Ride featuring Tato Soul and Maglera Doughboy hit over 1 million YouTube views within a month, proving that he didn't need to stay in Reese's shadow. X Global tried to keep it moving, dropping a joint project with Krish in 2021 and 2 solo projects, but he can't seem to gather any steady momentum in the game because his Spotify numbers are abysmal. He's mostly known to be wilding out on Twitter or X, with him coming off across as a bit of a joke to the fans. But honestly, you gotta feel for this guy, because if he put in all that effort and resources into his own career instead of the crew, who knows who he might have ended up becoming. Words is someone who has really grown into his own as a solo artist, with solo projects like People Forget to Be People and Only the Brave with Mash Beats. He is someone that demands to be taken seriously. While less in the mainstream spotlight, both Echo and Melo remain active in the music industry. Melo's background in videography supported Flame's Candyman visuals, and Echo continues producing alongside his industry peers. At the end of the day, the Wrecking Crew was one of the most exciting collectives South African hip-hop ever saw. And maybe that's all it was meant to be, a moment. A flash of youth, ambition, and chemistry that couldn't be sustained. Still, even in the wreckage of the crew, something beautiful happened. The music lived on, careers blossomed, fans never forgot. And whether they admit it or not, each one of them carries pieces of TWC with them to this day. But whether they make peace or not, the legacy they left behind is stamped forever. And for those who were there to witness it, it felt like something special. Guys, thank you for checking out this video. If you want to show your support, be sure to like and subscribe, and maybe leave a comment if you want to at all. And until next time, this is the Trap House, signing out.